Minutes before 9 right now. Betty Hutton was one of the biggest movie stars of the 40s and the 50s. She starred in a number of movies, among them Annie Get Your Gun and The Greatest Show on Earth. But then television came along and things just started to go wrong in Betty Hutton's life. Pat Collins is here with an update this morning. We're looking forward to this. Hi, good morning.
Good morning. As you remember, 2 years ago, I went to Newport, Rhode Island to visit Betty Hutton. She had converted to Catholicism and was working at the rectory of Father Peter McGuire, trying desperately to put her life back together again.
And if I hadn't gotten here, gee, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I wouldn't have made it, you know.
The best thing is that you have
see,
made
they didn't
it.
expect me to be so super great here. These people, you know, took me in their homes, their little homes, and held me in their arms and kissed me and hugged me back to life.
Those were difficult days for Betty Hutton. Although she had recovered from alcoholism and drug abuse, she had been separated from her children for 10 years and had never seen her grandchildren. But then the miracle she prayed for finally happened. She met her youngest daughter, Carrie, and last Christmas was reunited with her daughter, Lindsay, and her grandchildren after Lindsay made that first phone call to her mother.
And I went to the phone, and the voice said, Mom, and I just said, Lindsay! And I dropped on my knees, I screamed, Father! And Father came running in, he thought something happened. I said, it's my daughter. She's calling me. So he talked to her first because I couldn't talk. And then when I could talk, we talked, and we talked for about 4 hours, and I cried, and she cried. Pat, it's the most wonderful thing.
You went for 10 years without talking to her. Why?
Well, because all the years before we broke, you know, were very difficult years, and I just couldn't handle the problem of the drugs, and I couldn't handle it. I was very young, and I was very frightened and very insecure, and she wasn't so crazy about my husband. So it was, you know, it was a very difficult time.
You have to remember, Pat, see, I was a very strong, powerful mother, and I held everything together from my mother, from my whole family. They all depended on me.
You wanted it all to be perfect.
Yes, I did.
Yes.
And so when a perfect mother snaps, they don't know what to do. Something really bad went wrong, you know? So it's not their fault. No one really understood what was really going on, the depth of it. Even I didn't know when it really began to happen. My career started to fall apart, and everything fell apart at once. And my mother was burned to death, and then I had no one to turn to. And I never tried to explain to them that I was under pressure and scared, and I had to take pills. I didn't have that much energy anymore. I was getting older. I was tired. How could they know? They didn't know what I was doing. They thought I was going crazy. They didn't know it was pills. They only know, as she says, drugs now. But they didn't know what I was taking. All they knew was I was getting crazy.
They were scared.
They're terrified. And then when they reacted badly to me, I just said, get out. Inside I was dying, but I wouldn't let them know. See, I was too proud to let them know that I really cared so much. I was a child emotionally because I had never been taught about life. From the time I was a little girl, my mother was a bootlegger. I was singing from 3 years. You know, I didn't know the softness of life. All I knew was you had to work for a living. Now I tried to give them a dream world to live in, and I literally did. So when I ripped the dream world from them, but not consciously, but when it was taken from them, they couldn't cope. I couldn't understand why they suddenly couldn't understand that little girl that grew up in the garbage can. Why couldn't they look at me and say, my mother's suffering?
I didn't understand that Mother was saying, help me. Yeah. Because she didn't say help me.
No, I wouldn't.
She did things that were crazy that I couldn't put together. So it frightened me. And I was very insecure and very young. And I ran.
That first phone call, I'm just curious, what were the first things that you said to each other? What did you talk about after 10 years of not being
together? She told me, I didn't know you were divorced.
I didn't know. No. I didn't know her father was dying of cancer at the time. I mean, it was Lindsay, it was the lowest ebb of Lindsay's life. Like I said, oh my God, if I'd only known she needed me so badly, I would have gone to her. And I'm sorry things are tough. He said, Betty, if things were tough for her right now, maybe this wouldn't come about. This is God's way of bringing you into the picture so that you can bring her up once more in that kind of strong love without faltering this time.
The first day you saw your grandchildren, what was your reaction?
You know, I'd never been a grandmother from the word go. You know, you walk in and here's a little girl 9 and one 5, and they're looking at you saying, "Do you still take pills?" So slow but sure, they understood me, and they love me. They really do. And I do a lot of things with them that I wanted to do with my girls when they were young, but I worked all the time. So I'm a much better mother and grandmother to them than I was to my own.
Carrie, how do you feel about what's happened to your mother over the last couple of years?
It's been really great to watch her progress, because when I lived with her when I was younger was through her hardest time. And it's a miracle to watch what's happened, you know. I never thought it would be as good as it is. I don't cry. I love you.
I love you too. This is such an emotional thing. I hope they're not embarrassed. They really love me, and what went wrong, I reiterate. It was me. I fell apart.
Betty has accepted Lindsay's invitation to move into her home in California. They're buying a larger house so Carrie can join them too. Betty spends her time now taking care of her granddaughters, Whitney and Courtney, but she has not forgotten the good people of Rhode Island who brought her back to life. She intends to continue to speak out against drug abuse in churches all over New England and plans to go back there to live one day. Meanwhile, happiness is in California, surrounded by people she loves.
What's so nice about, in fact, it's very funny. A lot of my friends and my co-associates at work keep asking me, how's it working? You know, is it because very few people really could live with their mother. And the reason it's working out is because I need her, she needs me, and the kids need both of us, and it's perfect. It's really, and plus, we have a lot of years to make up for. So,
Betty, what's the most important thing about all of you being together now?
Well, that's the most important thing, that we're family, because there's no problem we can't handle.
There's even more good news about Betty's new life. Last weekend, for the first time in almost a decade, she met with her other daughter, Candy, and Candy's 3 children. They live in Fresno, California. Betty's next goal is to stage a family reunion in Disneyland in July. My favorite kind of story, happy endings.
It's wonderful.
We like to think we were a part of it, too.
And that they worked and coped, and now it's
Oh,
better.
it's great love.
Inspiration. Yeah,
Great love.
inspiration, I hope. Super. Congratulations, Betty Hutton and family. We'll be back in just a minute. So almost 5 minutes before 9 right now.